Hello guys, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we'll be diving into one of the most common and most dangerous web application vulnerabilities, cross-site scripting or XSS. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at cross-site scripting on the OWASP top 10. Let me just... If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you know what the OWASP top 10 is. Let's see. Okay, so this year, injection vulnerabilities are on the third place. 94% of applications were tested for some form of injection, and 33 CVEs mapped into this category have second most occurrences in applications. Cross-site scripting is now part of this category. So we know now that cross-site scripting ranks very high on the OWASP top 10. So it's a vulnerability that we should be aware of, right? So in this series, I will be recording a Hacking the Web series where some part of it is theory and some part of it is practical. So in the middle of this video, I will throw a practical demo showing you there are two types of cross-site script. No, not two types, but in this video, I will be focusing on two types: reflected cross-site scripting and stored cross-site scripting. So in the middle of the video, after explaining what stored cross-site scripting is, I will show you the demo. So, okay. Now, what is cross-site scripting? So, cross-site scripting is the injection of malicious JavaScript into a web page. So, the main goal here is to inject malicious script into a web page viewed by other users. So you're attacking the user, not the... Okay, technically you are still attacking the website, but now the attack will now show on the user side. So cross-site scripting is kind of like an attack on the user side. It's a user side attack. So cross-site scripting happens when an application takes untrusted user input and sends it back to the browser without proper validation or encoding. This lets an attacker inject JavaScript that runs in someone else's browser. From there, attackers can steal cookies and hijack sessions, modify the page, or even redirect victims to malicious sites. Okay, so cross-site scripting, basically the main goal with cross-site scripting is to, one, attack the users, not the web page in itself, but the people using the browser. You understand? So I did say we have two types of cross-site scripting: one stored and the other one is reflected. So I'm gonna give you a minute to just think about what you think these two mean. Okay, so what reflected cross-site scripting is? Reflected cross-site scripting is not persistent in its response, right? And it targets specific users via a link. You understand? So reflected cross-site scripting, I would be sending someone a link, maybe like a phishing email, and after they click on the link, the response will immediately reflect. It is not persistent. Maybe it hit once and then I'm done. You understand? So let's have a demo. Let's have a demo. So here, so in this demo, we have a simple search field that takes my input and reflects it directly in the response. So normally it just echoes what I type, right? If I said shoes, it'll reflect shoes. But if I inject a payload like this, let me just watch what happens. The application reflects my input back into the page and the browser executes it as JavaScript. So this is reflected cross-site scripting. It is delivered immediately, often through malicious links or phishing campaigns. A victim just needs to click the link and the attacker's code runs instantly in the browser. So this is why having awareness of phishing emails is very important because you could be clicking a link, and literally all the ticket needs is you to click the link, and then the JavaScript executes, and you're done. So phishing awareness is also very important when it comes to reflected cross-site scripting, right? So now, reflected cross-site script. Okay, I already did the demo, so these are just the slides. So the impact, right? Session hijacking. They can steal your cookies. They can inject fake login forms, and it can redirect you to malicious sites. So cross-site scripting is as much of a burden to users as it is to um let's say people who own the website. Like, you have to make sure that your website is not prone to cross-site scripting. So it's a kind of like hand in hand. We both have to be aware of this type of vulnerability. So the attack vectors in cross-site scripting include: the attacker crafts a malicious URL. Victims clicks the link, often delivered in a phishing email, and then the server reflects the script in response, and then the scripts execute in your browser. Okay, so that is cross-site scripting. Okay, so to summarize, reflected cross-site scripting is non-persistent. It works when the victim interacts with the crafted link or form, but it's still dangerous because attackers can steal credentials and launch phishing attacks with just one click. So those phishing campaigns your employee has you doing every month are very important because you might take an email that has a malicious URL, and it's actually cross-site scripting. So you must take those exercises for real. Okay. So now we're gonna move to stored cross-site scripting. Yeah, stored, right? This is like, I guess, is it self-explanatory, guys? Can you guess what stored cross-site scripting is by just the name? Hmm. Okay, so now let's look at cross-site scripting. So let's go to the demo. So here's a comment box. So you can see on this website, right? I'm just gonna comment on the blog. So here's a comment. Here's a comment box, right? Here's a comment box. And if I post a normal comment, it shows up as expected, right? But what if I post this instead? What happens when I post this script? Okay, and guys, please let me know if you would like a video on what these JavaScript code means. Like, I can explain these JavaScript attributions and all the things. I can actually, because I also had a difficult time understanding, okay, script alert, like what I because I don't have a background in web application, in programming languages and whatsoever. So like, I I was having a difficult time understanding what they mean. So let me know if you want a video on that as well. Okay, so let's see what happens if I post this instead. Okay, it looks like nothing happened, but let's go back to the post. Okay, so now every time any user of this page visits this blog, this is it yeah, it's a blog, this blog, the browser executes my script. Notice that it doesn't affect me, it affects every visitor because the payload is stored in the database and delivered to all users, right? So now every time it's delivered to all users, right? This makes stored cross-site scripting much more dangerous than reflected because it is persistent and scalable. Attackers could use it to steal cookies from every user to deface the site or spread malware. So personally, I think stored cross-site scripting is much more dangerous because now it is not just an attack for one user, like targeting one user, but everyone who will view this blog will have my JavaScript code executed without them knowing. Like, literally all you have to do is just go into the blog, I mean, all you have to do is just scroll into the blog, and then Unless you have JavaScript disabled in your browser, stored cross-site scripting is persistent in the database. What I would be doing with my comment is injecting this comment to the database. You understand? So it is stored, it lives there. When you go to the website and just go to the blog, like it's just going to execute unless you have JavaScript disabled, right? And it affects multiple users. So higher impact than reflected. So stored XSS is persistent. Once the payload is saved, every visitor triggers it. That's why it is often used in large scale attacks. One injection can compromise hundreds or thousands of users. Okay, so now the attack vectors of this one is attacker submits a malicious script to a website stores the script in a database, multiple victims can view the affected page, and then the script executes in the victim's browser. So the impact: mass exploitation, affects all users, persistent, remains until removed, warm potential, can self-propagate. Okay, so what are some defense strategies, right? How can we prevent cross-site scripting? So now the important part, like, it's how do you defend against it, right? So first, always validate the input, right? Validate the input and sanitize input before processing it. Always make sure your website validates input and sanitizes it before processing, right? The second is encode output, so user supplied data isn't executed as code, right? And then the third one, use secure frameworks and libraries that handle escaping by default. And finally, implementing strong content security policy that restricts what scripts are allowed to run on the browser. Okay, so key takeaways from this video: cross-site scripting remains one of the most common web vulnerabilities. Stored cross-site scripting affects multiple users and it persists in the database. Reflected cross-site scripting requires user interactions with malicious links. Defense requires sanitization, encoding, and CSP implementation. So if this video helped you understand, please subscribe for the full web hacking series. So on the next episode, I will be explaining IDO, where just changing just one number in the URL can leak sensitive data. So this week I will be mainly focusing on cross-site scripting. So if you could follow me on LinkedIn as well, subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications to make sure you catch the next video. So bye, see you in the next one.